You're about to discover something that will fundamentally shatter everything you thought you knew about reality. Right now, in this very moment, there's another version of you living the exact life you've been dreaming about. Not in some distant future that you're trying to manifest. Not in some fantasy world that doesn't exist. But right now, in a parallel reality that's just as real as the one you're experiencing in this moment. And here's what's going to sound absolutely insane until you understand the quantum mechanics behind it. That version of you isn't separated from you by time or space. You're separated by frequency, by vibration, by the specific electromagnetic signature that your consciousness is tuned into right now. Like a radio locked onto one station, while infinite other stations broadcast simultaneously on different frequencies. The quantum field doesn't operate on the linear timeline your logical mind has been conditioned to believe in. Past, present, and future existing in a neat little line? That's a construct. A useful illusion your brain creates to make sense of reality, but an illusion nonetheless. What quantum physics has proven, beyond any shadow of doubt, is that all possibilities exist simultaneously in what's called a superposition state. Every choice you could make, every path you could walk, every version of your life that could unfold, all of it exists right now in the quantum field as pure potential. Dr. Joe Dispenza spent years studying this phenomenon, bridging the gap between ancient mystical wisdom and cutting-edge neuroscience. What he discovered changes everything. When you're living from your past, recycling the same thoughts that lead to the same choices that lead to the same behaviors, that create the same experiences that generate the same emotions, you're essentially signing a contract with one specific reality over and over again. You're collapsing the quantum field into the same exact particle reality, day after day, year after year. But here's where it gets fascinating. Your parallel self, the one living your dream life, made different choices at key quantum decision points. Not necessarily huge, dramatic choices. Sometimes it was as simple as choosing a different thought in a crucial moment. Choosing to feel abundant when the bank account said otherwise. Choosing to act from love when fear was screaming. Choosing to trust the unknown when logic demanded certainty. Those quantum choices created a ripple effect that collapsed an entirely different reality into physical form. The mathematician Hugh Everett proposed something revolutionary with his many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. Every time a quantum decision point occurs, reality doesn't just choose one outcome. It splits. Both outcomes happen. Both realities become real. You just become aware of one of them based on where your consciousness is focused, based on the frequency you're vibrating at. Think about that for a moment. Every significant choice you've ever made created a branching point where another you took the opposite path. There's a version of you that said yes when you said no, a version that took the risk when you played it safe, a version that trusted when you doubted. And that version isn't living in some theoretical physics equation. That version is living, breathing, experiencing a completely different reality right now. They wake up in a different home. They look in the mirror and see the same face, but a completely different energy radiating from their eyes. They check their bank account and see different numbers. They kiss a different person good morning, or maybe the same person but in a completely transformed relationship. They do work that lights them up instead of drains them. They move through the world with a confidence and certainty that seems impossible from where you're standing right now. The question that probably just arose in your mind is, why am I stuck in this version of reality instead of that one? And that's exactly the right question to ask, because the answer unlocks everything. You're not stuck. You've never been stuck. You've been tuned in. Like that radio we talked about earlier, you've been broadcasting and receiving on a very specific frequency. And that frequency has been determined by your habitual thoughts, your emotional patterns, your deeply ingrained beliefs about who you are and what's possible for you. Amit Goswami, the quantum physicist who literally wrote the book on consciousness creating reality, explains it this way. Consciousness is the ground of all being. Matter doesn't create consciousness. Consciousness creates matter by collapsing quantum possibilities into physical reality. You are not a biological machine that somehow became conscious. You are consciousness using a biological machine to experience reality. And the version of reality you experience is determined entirely by what your consciousness expects, believes, and vibrates at. Your parallel self vibrates at a different frequency. They've aligned their thoughts, emotions, and energy with the reality they're experiencing. Not because they tried really hard to manifest it through force and desperation, but because at some point, they made a fundamental shift in their state of being. They stopped trying to become someone different in the future and started being that person now. They stopped waiting for circumstances to change so they could feel abundant, loved, successful, free. They started generating those feelings first, and the quantum field had no choice but to reorganize physical reality to match that new frequency. This isn't positive thinking. This isn't affirmations in the mirror while your whole body screams the opposite message. This is quantum mechanics. When you change your electromagnetic signature, when you shift the frequency your heart and brain are broadcasting into the field, you quite literally tune into a different channel of reality. The particles around you, which exist in infinite possible arrangements, reorganize themselves to match your new signal. What looked like coincidence is actually quantum entanglement. What felt like luck is actually alignment. What seemed like magic is actually physics that most people just don't understand yet. The experiment that changed everything happened in a laboratory over 100 years ago, and most people still don't understand the implications of what was discovered. Scientists shot electrons through two slits to see how particles behave. What they found defied every law of classical physics and revealed something so profound about the nature of reality that many physicists still struggle to accept it. The electrons didn't behave like solid particles traveling through space. They behaved like waves of possibility, going through both slits simultaneously, existing in multiple states at once until the moment someone observed them. And here's the part that should stop you in your tracks. The act of observation collapsed those infinite possibilities into one single reality. The electron existed everywhere and nowhere until consciousness looked at it. Then it had to choose. It had to become something specific, something measurable, something real in the physical sense. This isn't philosophy. This isn't spiritual metaphor. This is observable, repeatable, scientifically verified fact. Consciousness collapses possibility into reality. Your awareness literally creates the physical world you experience. And if that's true for electrons, it's true for everything in your life, because everything in your life is made of those same quantum particles playing by those same quantum rules. Dr. Amit Goswami took this further than most scientists dared to go. He didn't just accept that observation affects reality at the quantum level. He proposed that consciousness is primary. That awareness itself is the fundamental fabric of the universe, and matter is simply consciousness observing itself into form. In his model, you're not a separate observer watching a pre-existing reality unfold. You're the universe experiencing itself through a specific point of awareness, and the reality you experience is quite literally a reflection of your consciousness. Now connect this to your parallel self. In the quantum field, before anything becomes physical, infinite versions of your life exist as pure potential. Infinite parallel realities where you made different choices, took different paths, became different versions of yourself. These aren't fantasies. These are actual quantum probability waves existing in superposition. And the version that collapses into your lived experience, the reality you wake up to every morning, is determined by where you place your conscious awareness and what frequency your entire being is vibrating at. Joe Dispenza bridges this quantum physics with neuroscience in a way that makes it actionable. Your brain is a quantum instrument. Every thought you think generates an electrical signal. Every emotion you feel creates a magnetic field. Together, your thoughts and feelings create an electromagnetic signature that broadcasts into the quantum field, like a radio tower sending out a signal. And the field responds. It has to respond. That's not belief. That's physics. Energy attracts matching energy. Frequency resonates with matching frequency. Here's where most people get tripped up. They think manifestation is about visualizing what you want for 15 minutes a day, while spending the other 23 hours and 45 minutes broadcasting the complete opposite signal. They see the dream life in their mind while their body is flooded with stress chemicals. They affirm abundance while their heart is contracting with fear and lack. They try to think their way into a new reality while their emotional state is signing a contract with the old one every single moment. Your parallel self didn't manifest their reality through this fragmented approach. They underwent a complete shift in state of being. They changed who they were at the energetic level, at the neurological level, at the quantum level. And when that shift happened, when their entire electromagnetic signature changed, the quantum field reorganized to match it. The right opportunities appeared, the right people showed up, the right circumstances aligned, not through magical thinking, but through quantum entanglement with a different probability stream. The double-slit experiment revealed another crucial piece. Particles that have interacted once remain connected regardless of distance. Change the state of one particle, and the other responds instantaneously, even if it's on the other side of the universe. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance because it violated everything classical physics said was possible. But it's real. It's measurable. It's called quantum entanglement. And if particles can remain entangled across space and time, then you and your parallel self are entangled. You're connected through the quantum field. What affects one affects the other. This means your parallel self isn't some separate entity living in an unreachable dimension. You and that version of you are two expressions of the same consciousness, entangled at the quantum level, experiencing different collapsed realities based on different vibrational states. The gap between you isn't physical distance, it's frequency distance, and frequency can be changed. Your electromagnetic signature can be shifted. Your state of being can be transformed. But here's what stops most people from making that shift. Their body has become addicted to being them. Your body doesn't know the difference between an emotion created by an actual experience and an emotion created by thought alone. When you replay the same mental loops, when you relive the same past experiences, when you project the same fears into the future, your body gets flooded with the same chemical cocktail over and over again. Stress hormones, survival emotions, the chemistry of lack, fear, unworthiness, limitation. And just like any addiction, your body starts to crave those chemicals. It becomes physiologically addicted to being anxious, to being stressed, to being the victim, to being unworthy. So when you try to shift into the frequency of your parallel self, when you try to feel abundant or peaceful or powerful, before the physical evidence shows up, your body literally revolts. It sends urgent signals to your brain. This doesn't feel like me, this feels wrong. Go back to the familiar feeling. Go back to the known. Go back to the chemical state we're addicted to. This is why most people fail at transformation. They're fighting against years, sometimes decades, of neural conditioning and chemical addiction. Their conscious mind wants change, but their subconscious mind and their body are running programs that keep recreating the same reality over and over. The same neural pathways firing in the same sequence, producing the same thoughts, generating the same emotions, creating the same electromagnetic signature, collapsing the same quantum possibilities into the same physical reality. Your parallel self broke that cycle. At some point, they became so conscious of these unconscious patterns that they could interrupt them. They caught themselves in the act of being their old self and chose differently. Not once, but over and over again until the new patterns became stronger than the old ones. Until their body got addicted to elevated emotions instead of survival emotions. Until their brain started firing in new sequences that created new thoughts, that generated new choices, that produced new experiences. The quantum field is neutral. It doesn't judge. It doesn't decide who deserves what. It simply responds to the signal you're broadcasting. If you're broadcasting lack, it returns lack. If you're broadcasting fear, it returns more things to fear. If you're broadcasting the victim frequency, it returns experiences that confirm your victimhood. Not because the universe is punishing you, but because you're collapsing quantum possibilities that match your signal. You're tuning into the reality that resonates with your current state of being. The version of reality you're experiencing right now isn't random. It's not bad luck. It's not because you haven't worked hard enough or because the universe has forgotten about you. You're locked into this specific timeline because of patterns running so deep in your neurology that you don't even recognize them as patterns anymore. They feel like you. They feel like reality. They feel like just the way things are, but they're not. They're loops. Sophisticated, invisible loops that your brain runs on autopilot, collapsing the same quantum possibilities into the same physical experiences day after day after day. Here's what's actually happening beneath your conscious awareness. Every experience you've ever had created a neurological pathway in your brain. Every strong emotion you've felt chemically conditioned your body. Every belief you've accepted about yourself and the world hardened into a filter through which you perceive reality. And over time, these pathways, chemicals, and filters created something neuroscientists call a default mode network. It's your autopilot. It's the version of you that runs when you're not paying attention. And here's the devastating truth. You're not paying attention most of the time. Studies show that 95% of who you are by the time you're 35 years old is a set of memorized behaviors, emotional reactions, unconscious habits, hardwired attitudes, beliefs, and perceptions that function like a computer program. Only 5% of your mind is actually conscious, actually present, actually creating in real time. The rest is your subconscious running yesterday's software, trying to create tomorrow. And it can't. All it can do is recreate more of yesterday. Your parallel self understood something crucial that broke them free from this loop. They realized that every time they woke up and started their day running the same mental routine, they were making a choice. An unconscious choice, but a choice nonetheless. A choice to be the same person who would make the same decisions that would create the same outcomes. They saw that thinking the same thoughts was quite literally hardening the same neural pathways, making those thoughts easier to think again tomorrow, creating a neurological prison that felt like personality, but was actually just habit. And the body, your body is the unconscious mind. It doesn't understand English or any spoken language. It only understands chemistry and feeling. So when you've spent years, maybe decades, feeling unworthy, your body knows exactly what unworthiness feels like at the chemical level. It knows the precise cocktail of stress hormones, neuropeptides, and chemical signals that create that familiar feeling. And because the body's job is to maintain homeostasis, to keep everything familiar and predictable and safe, it will do everything in its power to return you to that known chemical state. This is why you can read every self-help book, watch every motivational video, set every intention, and still end up back in the same patterns. Your conscious mind wants change, but your body wants familiarity. And in that battle, the body wins almost every time because it's operating from the subconscious, which is 1,000,000 times more powerful than your conscious willpower. The subconscious is the quantum field's direct line to your biology. It's running the show behind the scenes, collapsing realities that match your memorized emotional states. Joe Dispenza calls this living in survival mode. When you're constantly recycled the emotions of the past, your body thinks it's under threat. It thinks the past is happening right now. So it floods your system with cortisol, adrenaline, all the emergency chemicals designed for short-term survival. These chemicals are highly addictive. They make you feel alive, alert, focused. But they also shut down your creative centers. They pull all your energy into protection mode. They make it impossible to access the quantum field, where all possibilities exist, because you're biologically locked into the known, the predictable, the safe. Your brain can't tell the difference between what's actually happening in your external environment and what you're imagining or remembering in your internal environment. This has been proven in brain imaging studies over and over again. When you replay a traumatic memory, your brain lights up in the exact same patterns as when the trauma actually occurred. When you imagine a fearful future scenario, your brain and body respond as if that future is happening right now. You're literally living in a time that doesn't exist, and your body is paying the price. So you wake up every morning, and before your eyes even open, your brain starts firing in familiar sequences. You start thinking about your problems, which are just memories of the past projected into the future. Those thoughts generate the same emotions you felt yesterday. Those emotions influence your choices today. Those choices create the same behaviors. Those behaviors produce the same experiences. And those experiences create the same emotions that drive the same thoughts, completing the loop. This is the neurological prison. This is why your life looks the same year after year. Your parallel self broke this cycle by becoming aware of it. They started observing their thoughts instead of being their thoughts. They started noticing their emotional patterns instead of being hijacked by them. They created space between stimulus and response. And in that space, they found choice. Real choice. Quantum choice. The choice to collapse a different possibility into reality by choosing a different thought. a different feeling, a different state of being in that moment. But here's what makes it so difficult. When you start to change, when you stop feeding your body the familiar emotions it's addicted to, you go through withdrawal. Your body starts sending urgent messages to your brain. Something's wrong, this doesn't feel right, go back to anxiety, go back to unworthiness, go back to the known. And most people interpret those signals as evidence that change isn't working. They think feeling uncomfortable means they're doing something wrong, so they retreat back into the familiar patterns. The parallel version of you pushed through that discomfort. They understood that the discomfort wasn't a sign of failure. It was a sign of change. It was their body releasing its addiction to the old self. It was old neural pathways dissolving and new ones forming. It was the quantum field reorganizing. And instead of running back to the familiar, they stayed in the unknown long enough for the unknown to become known. They stayed in the new energy long enough for their body to accept it as the new normal. Now let's talk about the proof. Because your logical mind needs evidence, and the evidence is everywhere once you know what to look for. You've experienced it yourself, even if you didn't have the framework to understand what was happening. Those moments of inexplicable knowing, those dreams that seem to predict the future, those coincidences so specific and perfectly timed that calling them random feels absurd, those déjà vu experiences where you swear you've lived this exact moment before. These aren't glitches in the matrix. They're glimpses of the quantum truth. They're your consciousness briefly accessing other timelines, other versions of reality, other expressions of you existing simultaneously. Déjà vu is one of the most common and most dismissed experiences. You're in a conversation or a location and suddenly you're hit with this overwhelming sense that you've been here before, said these exact words before, felt this exact feeling before. Science tries to explain it away as a misfiring in your temporal lobe, a trick of memory processing. But quantum physics offers a far more interesting explanation. What if déjà vu is a moment when your consciousness overlaps with a parallel version of you who has already experienced this moment? What if it's a quantum entanglement event where two timelines briefly touch, and you get a flash of recognition from another you? Precognitive dreams are another crack in the illusion of linear time. You dream something specific and detailed, then days or weeks or months later, that exact scenario plays out in your waking life. The skeptics call it coincidence or selective memory. But when it's happened to you, when you've felt that unmistakable recognition of living something you already experienced in a dream.
And here's the truth most people aren't ready to hear. That version of you, the one living your dream life right now, isn't lucky. They didn't magically escape struggle. They simply made one decision you've been avoiding. They chose alignment over comfort, clarity over distraction, growth over excuses. Right now, in this exact moment, two paths exist in front of you. One leads to the life you keep imagining. The other leads back to the same cycle you keep repeating. And the only thing separating those two realities is you. Not your past, not your circumstances, not even your fears, just your willingness to act. Because the moment you decide to think like that version of you, move like them, refuse to settle like them, you don't chase that reality anymore. You become it. So the real question is, how much longer are you going to watch your dream life from a distance before you finally step into it? Your parallel self already did. Now it's your turn.